The Giants have had such a hard time scoring runs lately, and yet entering last night's game, they were 1-4 in their last 5 games in which they scored 5 or more runs. They scored 6 last night, and they almost lost, but it was a huge win, and hopefully one that propels them forward. They got a chance for a split today.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on the show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, hosting this show for over 6 years, and I'm a lifelong Giants fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. So check us out there if you have not already, and please smash that subscribe button wherever it is that you're following the show. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And coming up on today's show, we're going to get into the importance of last night's gut check win. Giants have had such a hard time scoring, like I said, and yet when they've scored 5 or more, they've lost almost every time for almost a month. And so what's going on there? We're going to get into Jung Hoo Lee's breakout game and some news, good news, about Matt Chapman and Casey Schmitt. One of those guys are coming back. We'll get into all of that today. And so, yeah, the Giants have, like we got into yesterday, it's been a quarter season of offensive futility. They're averaging like 3.2 something runs a game. They were entering yesterday over their last 41, which is a little over 25% of a season. And yet, over that span, their record was like 19-22. Not like, it was 19-22. So now they're 20-22 in their last 42 games, despite this. I don't know if it's historic. Like, I haven't gone back and looked at the history books to see where this ranks, but it's certainly been a very frustrating quarter of a season's worth of games offensively, and yet they had lost a lot of games. Like, every time it seems that they score, they don't pitch well. So this dates back to the 14th of June when they lost 11-5 to the Dodgers. I must say that they were losing 11-0 in the ninth inning, and then Kike Hernandez, a position player, was pitching, and they put up a 5-spot on him. So I don't know if that one really counts. We could go back to the previous. Well, actually, they won 6-2 the day before that, but then it's really kind of started when they lost 8-7 to the Rockies in the finale of that series in Denver, and they had a chance to sweep, and they gave up some runs in the bottom of the ninth to get walked off there. But then, they return home and they lose 3-2 to Cleveland, 4-2 to Cleveland, and then they win 2-1. So they only allow 3 runs, 4 runs, 1 run in that series, and they lose 2 out of 3. It's a total of 10 runs in the series, 3.33 runs a game. You're thinking you're going to win that series, but they lost it. And then against the Red Sox, they won the series, but in the first game, they scored 5, but they allowed 7. And then going to the Miami series, they scored 5 in the second game and lost 8-5. They scored 5 in the third game and lost 12-5. So this is like, it's just a kind of random thing, but yesterday they had scored 5 through 9 innings, and they almost lost again because, not because, but it all turned when Camilo Doval gave up a game-tying 2-run homer in the bottom of the ninth to Ketel Marte, the all-star starter at second base for the National League. So Marte, very good, but the Giants have had ninth inning troubles for a team that has the best bullpen ERA in baseball. It's certainly not been smooth sailing in the ninth. They've gone through a couple of closers. Ryan Walker already lost his job, and then Camilo Doval, it's not exactly been the smoothest of seasons for him, even though the overall numbers are certainly much better than they were last year. But I'm just like, in conclusion, this was a huge win because, and honestly, I felt even when Doval gave up that game tying homer, I was just feeling like this was a game they were going to win. There was like I don't know. I just had this feeling like there was just a sense of will and determination that was going to carry them to a victory. And they did pull it out with situational baseball in the top of the 10th. They scored that free runner that gets placed on second base. That's not always going to get it done, just putting up the one, but you got to get the one in. Otherwise, you're in a horrible position where, the home team gets that free runner on second to start the inning, and all they need to do is bring them home and the game is over. They don't even need a hit and they can win the game. So we have seen multiple times the Giants fail to score that free runner in extra innings this year. I don't know how many times, but multiple times for sure they have not been able to score that free runner, and then they've gotten walked off. And so I just want to see quickly, in extra innings, the Giants are 6-4 this season. So it's not like it's been this huge issue, extra inning games. So, they were 5-4 going into yesterday, and they pull out another win, and it was arguably the biggest win of the year. If they don't win that game, it's a total gut punch as opposed to a gut check win, whatever the difference is. What's a gut check? I don't know exactly. But they were up, in this game. They jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the first, made it 3-0 in the fifth, and then the D-backs answer right back with 2 in the bottom of the fifth. Giants get 2 more, though, in the top of the eighth, so it's 5-2 in the bottom of the eighth. And so if they lose that game, they would have been 45-42, just 3 games over 500, facing a potential 4-game sweep after they lost 2 out of 3 to the White Sox, who are the second worst team in baseball, ahead of only the Rockies. So the fact that they win this game, I discussed it yesterday, but now they have a chance to go out there with Robbie Ray on the mound, former Arizona Diamondback Robbie Ray. This is where he spent most of his career. Only the second time he's going to face them in his career. So with him on the mound, Brandon Pfaadt going for the Diamondbacks, and he's been a little bit better lately. I'm trying to look him up, but for some reason, there we go. He has a 5.38 ERA, a 6.80 expected ERA, a 4.90 fielding independent pitching. I always joke about this and say, so therefore, I expect him to go out and completely dominate the Giants. I say it jokingly, but also like very much half serious. Talented young arm, but the results just haven't been good for him this year, but he's been better lately. But the Giants, on paper may have the advantage in this finale here, at least on the mound. I think they definitely have the advantage based on just looking at the raw numbers for the pitchers that are going. And so a real chance to split this series after losing the first 2 on the road against a pretty good team that's banged up, but still a good team. And then you go to play the Sacramento A's, who have a home record of, hold on, I'm in the advanced. They have a home record of 15-27. So they pretty much lose every series at home is what that tells me. They have a minus 140 run differential on the season, and they're 36-53. So real chance, if you can win tonight, and then just win a series in, I keep wanting to say Oakland, but Sacramento, it would be a 500 road trip, which would I think, be such a salvage of this road trip after the way it started. So I'm getting ahead of myself. There's still 4 more games to go on this road trip. But last night was absolutely huge. One of the key players, Jung Hoo Lee. We'll get into his breakout game. Long time coming in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode of Locked On Giants is brought to you in part by Game Time. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. Are you tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal? Game Time's zone deals pick the best seats in your section for you. And do you ever wonder what your view will actually look like before you buy? That's me. The app shows you a panoramic seat view, so there are no surprises. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, here we go. We're going to get more into the specifics of this Giants win that I just think was huge for this team. Rafi Devers had a big hit. It's been a struggle for him in a Giants uniform. 2 strike, 2 out hit to drive in a run. Jung Hoo Lee, though, day off the day before and just came out looking like a different player. Guy who needed a day off. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers, tomorrow, we're going to see if we can get Millard from Locked On D-backs on the line to kind of break down these two teams at roughly the halfway point of the season. Check in. Are the D-backs going to be sellers given all the injuries that they're dealing with and the fact that their record is just 500? But if we can't get Millard, and kind of regardless, we'll be breaking down the finale of this series. Kind of the biggest game of the year to me. Like I said, if you can split, you put yourself in a good position to have, a 500 road trip if you can just win a series against a team that's played horrible at home. And their home park is a minor league park that is home to the Giants minor league AAA team. So you got an advantage, I think, when you go into Sacramento as the Giants. Anyway, more about the game. The Giants had a good offensive night. They put up 11 hits. They walked 5 times. They only struck out 5 times. Jung Hoo Lee, a homer shy of the cycle. A double, a triple in the first inning, a single, obviously. Yastrzemski homered to lead off the game, which is, it set the tone. Merrill Kelly has been a thorn in the Giants' side for quite a while. But Yaz, that was his 4th home run in his career against Merrill Kelly. So it was just a big night for the Giants' offense. They went 4 for 13 with runners in scoring position. So that'll make a big difference in the final score. And for Jung Hoo Lee, it has been an immense struggle for quite a while. Like, he started out the season so well. There's an article on Fangraphs that is one of the, they've got like a thing where it shows the recent kind of news about the player and whatever. And there's an article from the 17th of April that says Jung Hoo Lee is starting to look like a star. And, I kind of cringe when I look at that now because he fell off so much since April 17th. They cursed him with this article. No, I'm just kidding. But if we go back, let's just look from April, the day that was published, until the day before yesterday's game. Jung Hoo Lee over that period hit .213 with a .287 on base and a .321 slugging in 268 trips to the plate. So that spans, like I said, April 17th to July. Actually, he didn't play July 1st, so June 3rd to the end of June. So mid-April, we're talking just half of April essentially, where he was great. And then since then, it's just been a major struggle. So that's a long time in the majority of this season that it's been a significant struggle. So that's a 74 weighted runs created plus over that time. So before the 17th, from March 27th to April 16th, Jung Hoo Lee, so at the time that article was written, in 76 plate appearances, had a 338 batting average, a 395 on base, and a 647 slugging. Notably, huge power, a 309 isolated power. This was after he went into New York, hit a couple of home runs against the Yankees. He hit 3 home runs in that series in New York, including 2 in the finale of the series. And he had homered, or those were his first 3 home runs of the year. And I feel like he hit one in Chicago against the Cubs. So anyway, you all know it's been a struggle for a long time for Jung Hoo Lee, like months long. And his rolling 15-game weighted runs created plus going into last night's game was 12. So over his last 15 games, he had been about 90% below average offensively, and it had just been in free fall since about mid-June. So he looked to me like a guy who needed a day off. He was so out of whack and probably tired. In Korea in 2023, he only played 86 games because he dealt with an injury. I think like an ankle injury that cut his season short. And then last year with the Giants, in his first year in the States in the major leagues at age 25, he only played 37 games. And so to have him out there every single day is asking a lot. And he is young. He's 26. He'll turn 27 in August. But I don't know. It just was immediately clear. It looked like the day off did him very well. And he had his best game in a long time. And what's been consistent is his defense in center field has been plus. So it's kept him a productive player even as the bat has fallen off so dramatically. But it's also worth pointing out that he started out so well that even 2.5 months of struggles have brought him down to just about league average offensively. So even if this is who he is someone who's roughly league average offensively, but an above average base runner, and I always say this, but base running is not just about stolen bases. It's about, do you make blunders on the bases? Do you go first to third? Do you go first to home on doubles? Do you go second to home on hits, singles and the like? And also, do you get thrown out trying to steal, and do you steal? There's a lot that goes into base running besides just raw stolen base totals. And so this all gets factored into this Fangraphs metric called BSR, which is base running runs above average. And he's at plus 2.2 runs above average. And plus 2.2 runs above average for his contributions in center for the Giants. And so add it all up, and Fangraphs calls this a 1.7 WAR season so far in 83 games. And so the projections are kind of universally about 1 to 1.5 wins above replacement for the remainder of the season, which would put him at a little over a 3 WAR season, which is an above average regular in the major leagues. And so it's still good. And the other thing is, I believe there's a little more upside in the bat because we've seen it. We've seen the upside in the bat. It just disappeared for a very long period of time. So I think it's a reasonable moment to check in on his career platoon splits now that he's been in the league for a total of, not that long, a total of 120 games only has Lee played in the major leagues. 507. These are his first 507 plate appearances in the major leagues. And he's been a little below average offensively when you account for last year as well. 251 average, 314 on base, 382 slugging. So it's roughly league average offense and above average base running and above average contributions defensively. The fact that he plays a premium position and he plays it pretty well. Definitely a true center fielder. And so I think it's a fair moment to check in on his career platoon splits because those are always interesting, especially for someone, again, who's new to the league. And so interestingly, he has a 96 career weighted runs created plus against right-handed pitching. So this year, we're going to break it into season. This year, he's been a little below average against right-handed pitching. And last year, he was a little below average against right-handed pitching. Against left-handed pitching, this year, he's been about 30% above average, whereas last year he was 50% below average. So that's the thing about single season platoon splits is they are noisy and weird. So when we add it all together last year and this year, it's still a small sample, but it's a 100 weighted runs created plus on the nose against right-hand or left-handed pitching. But there's an interesting breakdown or trend, I guess you would call it, which is that his on-base percentage against lefties is just 292 in his career, but he's hit for power. So his power has come against left-handed arms. 172 isolated power against lefties with a 292 on base. So let's remember that. And then look at his numbers against righties, a 321 on base percentage, but a 116 isolated power. So significantly more on base against righties so far in his career and less power, and the opposite against lefties. So I would chalk that up to probably small sample theater, as they say. But overall, he's been about average against both, but it's not been exactly the same. Like the way he's been average has been different against lefties and righties, but that's good in general that he's not looking like someone who needs to be at all platooned. He does equally well, pretty much. In fact, a little better against left-handed pitching in his young career, but it takes a long time for platoon splits to stabilize, but pretty clearly he can hold his own against lefties, so that's great. You're not going to platoon a guy, hopefully, who's on a $113 million contract over 6 years with an opt-out after 2027, but it was just great to see Jung Hoo Lee have such a big game. 3 for 5, no strikeouts, and again, a single, a double, and a triple. So coming up in just a minute, 2 other crucially important players for the Giants, Matt Chapman in particular, but also Casey Schmitt. We got medical updates on them, and they're good ones. Thank goodness. We'll get into those in just a minute, and before we do, today's episode of Locked On Giants is brought to you in part by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site that's made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you will find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trademaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it is your turn. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, as promised, we are going to get into the medical updates for the Giants. These are key because, as we discussed yesterday, the two players who were doing really well offensively over the last 25% of the season, 41 games going into yesterday, are on the injured list, Matt Chapman and Casey Schmitt, but both could be nearing returns, and that is a big deal. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Every day or tomorrow, we'll be breaking down the finale of this 4-game series in Arizona. It's not the end of the world if you end up losing, but it would go a long way to pick up a win and split this series. A long way, I think. And maybe, just maybe, it could be the start of the Giants turning things around. So, the injury updates, not to leave you hanging any longer. The Giants, this is according to both Alex Pavlovich and Shayna Rubin on Twitter. Pavlovich noted, by the way, that Elliot Ramos has been sick, and that's why he's out of the lineup. He was not in the lineup yesterday, but he pinch hit. And by the way, huge pinch hit single in the top of the 10th to get the free runner, I think it was Jung Hoo Lee, from second to third. It was kind of knocked down by Ketel Marte at second, but off the bench to get a single off a righty in that situation, huge. So great job while being sick. Tip my hat to Elliot Ramos. That was enormous. But we're here to talk about Matt Chapman. So Pavlovich then says Matt Chapman will hit on the field tomorrow. So that's today, Thursday. And Bob Melvin said of his rehab, quote, "So far, so good." And Pavlovich added, "Will be back soon." And then he also says Casey Schmitt got a cortisone shot and is feeling much better, should be back when eligible. Shayna Rubin, just to further make sure we cover all the bases here, said, quote, "Matt Chapman will hit on the field tomorrow." So again, that's today, Thursday. "Some live arm, some high velocity machine. He's itching to get back." And then the Melvin quote again, "So far so good with him." So we have heard that Matt Chapman, who's eligible to come off the injured list whenever, because he's been on it for at least 10 days. It's been since I don't even remember. Was it the Braves? It was like the beginning of June, I think, that he hurt himself. So he's eligible to come off whenever he's feeling better. And what we've heard is that initially, let me pause there. Initially, we heard that he was aiming to come back right before the All-Star break, and that would be their series against the Dodgers that starts on July 11th, which is just a week from tomorrow. But then we heard that he was doing so well that he may actually come back for the beginning of the series prior to that, which is a 3-game series against the Phillies that starts off this last homestand of the unofficial first half, which is on Monday, this Monday. So I think either way, a week at most, unless there's a setback, but maybe just a few days for Matt Chapman. And so Giants have it's been rough without him, but him coming back, I don't know if he's going to need to go on a rehab assignment. Probably not. And then there's the All-Star break, so he'll have more time to rest that hand during the All-Star break. And for Casey Schmitt, it becomes more of a question of when he's eligible, because Pavlovich said there that he should come back when eligible. And yeah, by the way, the injury date for Chapman was the 8th of June. So looks like it'll end up being almost exactly a month. For Chapman, Casey Schmitt, the IL stint was, I think, retroactive to not the 7th, the 27th. When they placed him on the IL, I should have that written down. But yeah, he was placed on the injured list. It doesn't say here. Here it does, retroactive to the 27th. So 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. I don't know if it's the 6th or the 7th, but that would be, it would be Sunday or Monday probably for Schmitt. And that would be either the last game against Sacramento or the first game against Philadelphia. So they could both come back theoretically, maybe on the same day. And that would be just a huge boost for this lineup that has had so much trouble scoring runs with any kind of consistency. So the Giants have had trouble at second base. There's no question about it. Tyler Fitzgerald got a lot of leash, but then it was such a struggle, he got optioned to the minors. Christian Koss was doing well as a replacement, but he's on the injured list, and we haven't received an update there. It's probably going to be past the All-Star break, I would imagine, given how he was moving after he hit that home run that was called an out and then called a double. I'm still a little upset about that call. So I think that when Chapman comes back and when Schmitt comes back, you're looking at your starting third baseman in Chapman and your starting second baseman in Casey Schmitt, because I don't think Brett Wisely or who's even, it's just like Brett Wisely right now. I'm trying to remember even who is playing the field for the Giants these days. That's how banged up they are. Brett Wisely, and they've got, Tyler Fitzgerald is back, but struggling. He got a big hit in one of the games, second game against Arizona, but I think in a perfect world, I think Schmitt deserves an opportunity given how he was playing at the time of his hit by pitch injury. So yeah, those two guys just coming back into the lineup will lengthen it out so much, and I very much look forward to that, and so do the Giants, and so do all of you, I'm sure. So updates are good. Those updates are good. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB, on YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Once again, I'm Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter or X at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out so much. So thank you in advance, and thank you to everyone who's done so already. I can't wait to be with you again tomorrow. Thanks again for listening today. You are now Locked On Giants.